What's up, and welcome to the Cover 2 Recap. I'm BruinSportsPort.com publisher Edward Lewis, and this is Ryan Karchi, the Orange County Register's beat writer, UCLA beat writer, and we're here today at the Rose Bowl, where UCLA just beat Washington 41-31. Ryan, it's a big win for UCLA as they're still in the hunt for the Pac-12 South title. What were your general impressions of this victory tonight?
You know, I think it's a good win when you consider how important each of these games are that are left. I mean, you're talking about teams that are all kind of generally in the same range as where we saw UCLA as being, kind of that second tier underneath Stanford and Oregon. And with Washington, I mean, they ran into a team that is pretty good. I mean, this is a team that has, arguably one of the best running backs in the nation in Bishop Sankey, who they held to 95 yards on 27 carries. I mean, that's impressive, especially for a run defense that, had been gashed by some of the better running backs in the league. Kadeem Carey, Byron Marshall, Tyler Gaffney, all those guys that ran over UCLA pretty easily. But this time around, I think UCLA showed a little bit more toughness. And I think, maybe it helps to have a bunch of defensive players on offense. I mean, they had 5 touchdowns. 5 of their 6 touchdowns today came from defensive players. 4 from Miles Jack, of course, and 1 from Cassius Marsh. Noel Mazzoni was criticized for his play calling, not being creative a few weeks ago. I think all those people should probably eat some crow at this point. But at this point, UCLA is looking like a team. If they can beat Arizona State next week, I think they're they're right in the driver's seat to be in that Pac-12 title game again. This
was one of those kind of measuring stick games for me. Obviously, Oregon and Stanford were the true measuring sticks, and they failed those. But this was kind of the second tier of measuring sticks game for me. I think they're better than Arizona. I think Washington is, and I think they're better than half the rest of the Pac-12. And to see the way UCLA played them tonight, really in dominant fashion. I know the score didn't really reflect it, and I know some parts of the game didn't really reflect it. But I think if they had played another 10 quarters, I don't think Washington would have outscored them in any one of those 10 quarters. And that's huge for UCLA, just to have that kind of victory. Next, I want to get into Miles Jack, though, who was kind of the star and the reason why they were able to beat a Washington team like this. After the game, I thought Jim Mora kind of conceded that, he probably is a running back, but we can't make him a running back because he can't block right now. What were your take on him, and what do you think UCLA should do with him going forward?
I thought it was interesting because you look at his performance and you think Miles Jack dominated. Obviously, he had 4 touchdowns, which is amazing, by any stretch. So one of only 13 players in UCLA history to do that. But this wasn't like Miles Jack's last game. I mean, he was more of a short yardage back. He had, if you don't count the 1 carry that he had for quote-unquote 25 yards, which was really just him running 5 yards and then fumbling, in which Brandon Willis fell on top of it, he only had 1 carry over 3 yards. I mean, say what you will, maybe that's a little bit has to do with the UCLA offensive line. But I think it definitely has a little bit to do with Washington preparing for him and, knowing what's coming a little bit. And they put him in a lot of situations where that short yardage was what they needed. And I think that's probably going to be his role going forward. I mean, he's going to get his touchdowns. I mean, this is going to happen again. I don't know if he'll get 4, but, he might get 2-3 touchdown games these last 2 games. But at this point, I think I agree with Jim Mora. I like the mix that they had with Jack and the other running backs. He had 13 carries. I think that's probably about right. I probably wouldn't give him any more. I agree. I mean, I think at this point, he's right. You don't have enough time to make him into a running back, even if you wanted to. And if they can keep going like this, I mean, Arizona State has a little bit better defensive front than Washington does. So maybe next week, and against USC especially, who's one of the best defenses in the league, we'll see things a little different. But at this point, if they can make him into a short yardage guy who's going to get those tough yards that they need and score touchdowns when they need it, then I think they have it. I think they have it right now.
I almost got the sense that they were holding him back a little bit, if that makes sense. During practice, I know we're not allowed to get into a whole lot of specifics, but I'll tell you this: he did a lot more than just that little wing T formation. I mean, he was involved in the offense, and I think maybe they were holding him back a little bit. And you could tell Noel was a little. Not on edge, I guess, after the game, but he was asked about Miles Jack, and he kind of made the point, well, this is what they tell me I can use him as, and I do that. So I think he's clearly a little bit, not necessarily frustrated, but just kind of, man, I wish I had that guy full time, because he is. I mean, he's clearly this team's best running back. Moving forward, they have obviously Arizona State next week. USC right after that, and maybe Pac-12 South title. A couple weeks ago we were saying, man, that they might split these next 4 games. Now I'm thinking I might change my tune, and I think they might run the table here for the next 2. What do you think it's going to go down these next 2 games?
I wouldn't be that shocked if that's what happens. I mean, at this point, Arizona State's a good team, and Washington did lose to Arizona State. But Arizona State has to come here, and UCLA has done really well here. And, I think they, like you said, they proved today that they don't even need Brett Hundley to win games. This was as irrelevant as Brett Hundley has been to a game's result that I can remember since I took this job. Arizona State's going to have a different sort of challenge next week. I mean, they, arguably that offense is, I guess you could say, it's not quite as good as Washington, but I think it's just as efficient. And that defense is definitely better than Washington. So, if they can win that game, I think they go into that game against USC as being the favorites to win this Pac-12 South title. So, at this point, I think it all really rests on next week and how they do against Arizona State.
It's 68,000 people here tonight. I would assume it'd be close to a sellout next weekend. We'll be there. You can follow all of our stuff on Twitter and my stuff on Twitter at EdwardLewisBSR and at BruinSportsport.com. You can follow all of his stuff on Twitter at Ryan_Karchi and at OCRegistered.com. Until the next time, thanks for tuning in to the Cover 2 Recap.